my 6. Alas, the warning sounds from nature that he, she, it, or they, dun dun dun, may potentially be in our forest. Let's investigate. So, just like the title says, because you know, whatever the title says is always what the video is about. At least on this channel. I mean, I know a lot of social media is not like that, but this one is. I'm going to reveal some documents in here that's going to blow your mind. Our messengers have gone silent. It's even more important now than it was just a minute and 12 seconds ago to get my 6. It's either we draw nigh to the beast or the beast draws nigh to us. Potentially. So it's an interesting story, these documents. But it's the story behind the story that's even more interesting. Nay, creepy AF! Exclamation mark. Speaking of creepy AF! Exclamation mark. We're getting super close to Halloween. I mean, here we are, mid-September. A couple more weeks. It's going to be that great month of October. And we're going to have those wonderful October nights. And yes, once again, I will be here every night for the month of October, reading you all the new stories from the new book, October Nights Part 2, 31 more tales for the Halloween season. Now, as the veil grows thin, moving towards Halloween, we move to a location where it is even thinnest. Where field meets forest at elevation. And there is a stream right back here. For some reason, water plays a very important part in the thinning of the veil. Strange disappearances and whatnot. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in here, sit in the woods, and get set up on this little tripod and talk about the documents here that I brought with me. And after I read the documents to you, I'm going to tell you the creepy story behind the story. But speaking of creepy, no, I did not give you any spoiler alerts for this. A lot of you are going to be very angry about this for me doing it. But let me show you something creepy that my beautiful bride Dearly, aka Giggly Girl, and myself came upon just a few days ago while out on a hike. All right, so here we have a 6 feet long black snake that my beautiful bride Dearly, aka Giggly Girl, just pretty much almost stepped on. She walked right over it. She was hiking in front of me by just a few feet and she didn't even see it. The thing was laying out all the way entirely across the trail. And so I stopped. I said, "Wow, honey, look what you almost stepped on." And she was like 2 feet in front of it, and she turned around and saw it and squealed like a pig and took off running. And now she's afraid to come back. Honey, you can get closer.
No, I don't want to.
So anyway, I tried to get her to record it on her phone, but she was too scared to even get close enough to see it. But isn't she a beauty? Look at her. She's so pretty. She's about 6 feet long. She's not in striking position. She's just in I don't know what's going on here position. But I'm just going to leave her alone here in a second and move on around her. Oh, isn't she pretty? She's going to go her own way. Honey, this is a beautiful creature. You should come up and watch her leave.
No, I don't want to.
Oh, she is pretty. Look at that. I'm getting her entire length, honey. She's wider than the trail. This trail's about 4 feet wide. She's a good 5 feet. Oh, she's so pretty. Let's see, I'm trying to get my beautiful bride in the shot. Look, honey, she's all the way across the trail.
Oh my gosh. Oh, wow.
Isn't she long?
Yeah.
She's gorgeous, no?
Wow.
Oh, she is so pretty. She's just slinking away. She's like, "You don't bother me, I won't bother you."
Wow. He's
No, she's still going. There's her head. There's her pretty head. Where's she?
Oh, I'm scared.
There she is. Are you scared, honey? Are you scared?
Yeah. And all animals, snake is not that I don't like.
You don't like snakes? You like
No.
all animals except snakes?
Yep.
I love snakes. I love all animals. Wasn't that creepy? And here we are. Just as we start rolling, someone or something is already throwing something at us. Keep your eyes on the background behind me. Last time I was up here, it's been a few days already, we had potentially a mysterious visitor up in this direction. Time to reveal these documents, read them to you, and then tell you the creepiness behind the creepy, okay? This is not the creepy. That was creepy. This is a wonderful story that was submitted to us here on the YouTube channel by one of our viewers named Kathy Bates. No relation to the actress, you'll soon find out. If you have a story of anything related to the supernatural, paranormal, cryptozoology, UFOs, aliens, and you'd like us to read it, submit it to us by way of email at crazylake@mail.com. Again, it's crazylake@mail.com. We'll use your name if you want us to, or we'll keep you anonymous. On with this one. Came in recently. Hello, Kevin. My name is Kathy Bates. Yes, like the actress, but no, of no relation. Told ya. I have been an avid viewer of your channel for a number of years now. What drew me to your channel originally was some of your more creepy videos, the type of which you don't seem to do too many of these days, that I wish you would, hint, hint. But I guess it is your charisma and your personality that has caused me to stay. I just love to hear you tell stories. I don't care if they're about the paranormal, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, or just something that you and your family experienced. I've come to really appreciate the lessons in life that you give, most people being unaware of this fact, I'm sure. When you talk about the life you and your family had when you lived in the Philippines, it's truly amazing to see how someone could go from where you were then to where you are now. Okay, so enough with the fan mail. Time to get to my story. I know you are going to think this sounds weird. Well, not you in particular, but a lot of other people will, should you choose to read my story on your YouTube channel, which we're doing, or use it in any of your upcoming publications, both of which you have my permission to do. You can use my name as well. I don't care. But some of your viewers might think this is weird. It's a story about the ghost of my daughter's dog, Rags. Seriously. Okay, so when my daughter, Christina, was small, she got a puppy. It was some kind of mutt. We, my husband and I, never wanted a dog, and frankly, we didn't appreciate one of our friends bringing these near mangy puppies over to show Christina, she was 5 at the time, when their mutt bitch had a litter. You know how little kids fall in love with puppies and kittens upon sight? Well, that's what happened, and we know our so-called friends knew that would happen, so it would be a good way for them to get rid of at least one unwanted puppy quickly. Anyway, Christina did an excellent job of actually being the one in our family to take care of her puppy, unlike most kids, who might do a good job for a day or two and then happily turn all pet responsibilities over to mom and dad. We can look back now and see that the reason she did such a good job was because she absolutely loved that little puppy. She named him Rags because of the coloring of his fur. It was all different colors, all dark shades, and when he'd lie down and sleep and tuck his head into his forepaws, he literally looked like a pile of rags lying on the floor. We'd gotten Rags the summer before Christina started school. She just missed the cutoff for kindergarten the year before, so she was one of the older kids in her class, but we didn't mind getting to keep her to ourselves for another year. Kevin, just like you and your family, me and mine have always been close. I know we seem square and backward in our modern times, where most families seem to look for ways to spend time apart, i.e., the husband running out for errands as soon as the wife gets home from running errands and vice versa. But like you and your family, me and mine run those errands together. Just as I'm sure you and Dearly know, it was very hard for us to let Christina start school, and it was even harder when she went away to college after she'd grown up. Anyway, I digress. My point is, when Christina first started going off to elementary school, Rags would whimper and cry nearly all day until she came home. He quickly learned what time of day she'd be coming back, and at that time, he'd sit very impatiently in front of the front door and wag his tail and whimper with excitement. When he heard the air brakes of the school bus, he would simply lose his shit with excitement, sometimes literally, and I would have to clean it up. Sadly, Rags got a form of dog cancer when Christina was in high school, and he died before she graduated. It was a very sad day for all of us, but especially Christina. We buried Rags in the field behind our house underneath an old oak tree where he and Christina used to hang out in the shade during the hottest days of summer. Rags died during Christina's junior year of high school. She always kept his gravesite looking nice, and she even took him flowers, mostly wildflowers she would pick on our property. Her senior year, much of the same. Then it happened. About a week after Christina left... We have company, folks. You hear those knocks and those crow calls? Continue to get my six. About a week after Christina left for college, and at least she went in-state and was only an hour and a half away, my husband and I started hearing what sounded like a dog whimpering at our front door. I remember the first time it happened, checking my watch, only because it had woken me up. Voices, footsteps. I thought the sounds were part of a lucid dream and that they'd simply woken me up, and I wanted to know if it was late enough to get out of bed or if I still had time to sleep. I don't work outside of the house, and my husband always gets up before me anyway, whether he has to go to work or not. And I noticed that the time was just a little before 8 in the morning, the exact same time Christina used to leave for school. Again, I wrote that first occasion off to a lucid dream. However, it happened again, about a week later. And I knew it wasn't a dream, because I'd already awakened. I hadn't gotten out of bed yet, but I was laying there, awake, thinking of getting out of bed when I heard it. To speed things up, I'd hear the sounds of excited whimpers in the afternoons while lying on the couch, napping, or while reading or doing mundane chores around the house. Every afternoon when I would hear this, and it wasn't every afternoon, by the way, maybe just a couple of times a month, I would check my watch and I'd notice that it was exactly the same time that Christina used to come home from school. Now, here's the weird thing. Our daughter, Christina, has never heard any of this. I actually didn't even tell her about it for the first couple of years for several reasons. Mainly, I didn't want her to get sad remembering Rags, and also I didn't want her to think that the empty nest syndrome me and her father were experiencing, I neglected to tell you that she is an only child, was worse than it was. However, after a couple of years, I finally told her. She didn't think I was crazy, and by the way, my husband has heard it too. I think his confirmation of the strange sounds is what allowed us to convince Christina pretty easily. The only reason we can come up with as to why Christina has never heard Rags' ghost is because when she is here visiting, which is often, as she lives not in our town, but the next town over, which is only 20 minutes up the road, Rags' ghost is content. He is happy that Christina is here and in the house with him, so there is no need to whimper. Not only has she never heard it, my husband and I have never heard it when she is here. It's getting closer, and I think I just heard a growl. Very loud, definitive tree knock. Kevin, I promise you that this story is as true as the day is long. I want to thank you for providing an email address on your channel for people like me who have had and continue to have these odd experiences, to have a place where we can tell our stories and not so much be believed, but certainly not be ridiculed. I hope that even more of your viewers send their stories. I've really been enjoying listening to you tell them on your channel. I'm excited to listen to you read all the stories from your new book, October Nights Part 2, but I already know them because I bought the Kindle version on Amazon and read them all before it was even available in print. However, I did get my autographed copy, as I'm sure you know, because you are the one who signed it. Please give my best to your giggly girl and your handsome son, and please keep the creepy stories coming. Your viewer, Kathy Bates. Thank you, Kathy, for submitting your story. Thank you for plugging my book so that I didn't have to. I mean, the only thing you didn't do was mention how the link to our Etsy store where other folks can get an autographed copy of that book is in the description box below. But hey, maybe next time. So that's kind of one of those more pleasant stories of the paranormal, isn't it? And we've talked about whether or not animals have spirits or souls and whether they can come back on this channel before, so it's fitting. So here's the creepy part behind the creepy. And we're gonna go mobile here a little bit. Let me get this phone off of here because we're hearing some stuff out here. Fall is coming quickly, and it's time to start trying to get up close and personal with some of this stuff that may or may not be walking around out here. So, you saw the video of the snake. And Dearly and I that day, we hiked 5 miles. That was on Friday. It was a hike we've wanted to take for years, and we haven't because there's several reasons why. A lot of it had to do with we both weren't in shape to do it. We weren't in shape to do it at the same time. There's been times when I've been in superior shape to her, like most of the time. And it's not that I'm bragging or anything. It's just that I actually actively train as a distance runner. She's very inconsistent with her exercise. She'll start to get in shape, and then she'll get in shape, but then she'll stop for like 2 months, usually because of winter. It gets cold. She's from the South Pacific. Wow, I was going to say that's a loud growl, but I think that's a jet. There's a plane somewhere. Yeah, I see that too. That's why I stopped. So let's watch it for a minute. But she's finally been more consistent, and she's gotten fit enough to do that hike. It's like straight up for 2.5 miles and straight down. So matter of fact, for those of you who are familiar with our part of Virginia, we have this thing called the Skyline Drive or the Blue Ridge Parkway. It extends, I think, down into the Carolinas and up somewhere, I don't know, somewhere in northern Virginia. But this hike is on a trail on the opposite side of the mountain of this Skyline Drive. And you actually go up to an elevation level with that Skyline Drive. And there's no way to get to this point except for hiking on that trail. So part of that hike had to do with changing habits. I've been working too much for years, and I finally decided to get away from that. That's why the videos have gone from every day to about 3 days a week. That's why we're posting older videos on the channel. For those of you who are newer to the channel over the last couple of years, haven't seen a lot of that older stuff, gives you an opportunity to go back and see that. But there's more to it than that as well. I've kind of taken more of a responsibility role in Dearly's consistency in regard to her exercise. A lot of times she just needs a little nudge, and I would somewhat selfishly be more concerned with my training for the day than to help her with hers. So I've gotten away from that as much, and so on 2 or 3 days a week, if she just needs that nudge to get out there and do something on her own, I'll skip that 6-mile run, or I'll skip that 4-mile recovery run I have scheduled because the day before I did an 8-mile run, and I'll go hiking with my wife. And secondly, ordinarily in those situations, I would take a camera, I would take a phone. As you saw, I obviously had with me that day because I recorded the snake. But so much of the hike would be consumed by me making a video, by me looking for him, her, it, or they. Oh, there's a big bird. Sorry, it was a big vulture. So what would start out as a wonderful, enjoyable hike with a husband and a wife would quickly convert to work as well, and it would turn to work as well. I didn't like that. She never minded, but I just wanted to get away from that, and so I have. And as a matter of fact, the only reason I pulled that, something's walked through these weeds, and so we're going to go through here. This is where I was hearing the footsteps from in the video I was making. Well, it always weighed on my mind. It always weighed on my mind. I want my hikes with my wife and with my son when he goes with us, when he's not in school, to be with us, not so much about work. And but I am glad I did have the phone with me so I could pull it out and get that snake footage. And what it boils down to is this. I'm going through a transition right now of replacing habits. Last week I made a video about the 100,000 little paper cuts that I have. And in that video, the point of that was not to be woe is me and cry about the past. It was to send many of you who need a sounding board to a guy named Jim Stump. He just recently, well, he's had a YouTube channel for a while, but he's never really taken it too seriously. He's a counselor. He's out in California, and he helps people deal with their issues. But I've kind of brought him on board here. It's kind of like a team I'm building. Jim, of course, being the counselor, and of course we got Travis Daigle over at Fighting Past 40 as the motivator. I'm trying to get away from like being the motivator, the / inspirational speaker, and the armchair psychologist, because I'm not qualified to do any of this stuff, but I want to give you guys that are. So Jim, I watched his new video today, and he was talking about these two different aerospace engineers, two different rocket scientists. It's a wonderful video. I'm going to put a link at the end of my video to his videos again as well, so you can go listen to him. But this is, I don't know, the second or third time I've heard him mention in his videos that we don't replace, or that we don't break habits, we replace them. And I found that to be true in my life. And so to stop being such a workaholic and working every day, I've been focusing more on, okay, what can I do? And I've always spent a lot of time with my family. Like the person that wrote in today, family is very important to me. It's the number one most important thing in my life. And so I'm focusing more on that and less on work. Work is always going to be there, and it's not necessary. At this point, a lot of folks are, wow, this is interesting. Let me show you what I've just found. A lot of the vertically challenged individuals who live under bridges are rejoicing in the fact that we don't get the views on a lot of these videos that we used to. They're happy that, as they say, their words, not mine, they're happy that nobody watches my shit anymore. It's not necessary. I have nearly 2,000 pieces of content on this channel, and I literally could never make another video again and always make enough money to support my family's current lifestyle off of residual income and the passive income from the nearly 2,000 pieces of content that we've uploaded on this channel in the last 5 years. So I'm getting older. My son is bigger than my wife now, and he's almost as big as me. And I just was really, this summer when we took that trip out to the Grand Canyon and back, I was like, Kevin, he's not going to be a little kid forever. You are in good health and you stay fit, but you're not always going to be able to do the things you can do now, like drive all the way across the country, spend 10 hours a day driving, get out and still go out and hike 6 miles through the trails of the Rocky Mountains of Colorado or whatever. The time has come to do more of those things and less work. So, and again, I don't need, to jump the shark, so to say. But look what I just found. I definitely don't need to be out here making videos every day, but look at this. Interesting, huh? So, a lot of you who've come here for solace, comfort, keep coming. Just, I'm not going to be doing the new stuff as regularly, but I really want you to go visit Jim Stump's channel. I want you to visit Travis Daigle's channel. But here's the creepy thing. You're like, where's the creepy part? You said creepy. All you're doing is talking about yourself. That's why people don't watch your shit no more. And whatever, brah. Jelly much? Jelly belly? All right, so in that video, 100,000 paper cuts, I talked about some stuff that I just don't like to talk about. And I did it to send you to Jim, the people that like it when I talk about that stuff, because you can relate to not so happy past experiences. Anytime I do that, there are certain people who will reach out to me and contact me in very negative ways. And it's interesting because their paper doesn't cut anymore because I don't allow it. And so this happened again. And so I was running this morning. I just did an easy 3 miles. Yeah, it was 3 miles. I thought it was 4, but it wasn't. Look at this. Doesn't this look like some sort of portal? I come through here all the time. And this thing only opens up when it's almost Halloween. It opens up mid-September, and it's like crazy. I can look into the phone, and I clearly see that figure standing there. But when I look with my naked eye, have you seen that movie Insidious? It's like that. So let's stand here and see if it moves. I was going through the stories that Erie has edited, and I've edited several of them. I wanted to pick a good one to read today, and I picked this one. But the one that I almost read, and it was submitted anonymously. If the person would have put their name on it, I would have read it out of respect for them taking the time to send it in. But since it was submitted anonymously, that can wait until a later date. But they were talking about a poltergeist experience. And they mentioned in the story about how their home was possessed by, actually it turned out it was a husband and wife couple of poltergeists, because they brought in a couple of empaths to cleanse the home. And there was mental illness in regards to one of the poltergeists. It was angry. And the submitter of the story, I could tell it was a female because she referred to herself with those pronouns. And she said that her mother had been very mentally ill. She was raised by a mentally ill mother. And she believes in the theory that I have and a lot of folks have, that if that's your situation, one of the byproducts of that is the ability to see and hear things that which others can't. And I don't know if it's because you look for escape routes, maybe through your subconscious mind. And, I mentioned the movie Insidious, maybe through astral projection, but it seems as if it causes creaks or cracks that allow other things to come in. And if we acknowledge these things through sight, sound, they take note that we've acknowledged them and they keep coming. So she mentioned in that story she tells, and maybe I'll read it here in a couple of days, about how she felt as if she was drawing these entities to her as a result of becoming cracked as a result of her mother's untreated and very abusive mental illness. So I thought about today making a video based upon the contact this person from my past made with me overnight because of the video I made the other day of 100,000 paper cuts. Can't have any sort of beneficial or healthy contact, but if they watch a video like that where some of that stuff comes up, by God, they'll have one of them toxic, good old-fashioned Appalachian American reach out and touch us. So I was thinking about this while I was running, and I was thinking about that email about the poltergeist, but then I was also remembering Jim Stump and the way he says, you don't break habits, you replace them. One of my old habits was anytime I would receive a contact like that, I'd come out here and I'd act like I was a lot more angry than I was, and I'd come up with some really clickbait title to draw in a lot of views, and that was when all the people would watch my shit, because people like drama. This is social media, the gutter of the internet. The trashier you can make it, the more successful you're going to be. But let me tell you, after a while, you get sick and tired of wallowing around in the garbage, and you just kind of cut back a bit. You know what I mean? That's what we're doing here. No apologies, and I ain't going back. And like I said, I don't need to. Bills are paid with the 2,000 pieces of trash I already got on here prior to this. So anyway, I clearly said, and I said it aloud, with half a mile to go in my run, I said, no, I will not make that video. I'm going to replace that habit. I'm not going to tell that story. I'm not going to tell what the communication said. And just as I said that, I was running underneath an old tree that was beside the road, much like this old oak tree right here, but it was a hickory tree. And a limb, now not a big one, but certainly bigger than a stick. I would use the word stick if it had been a stick, but it wasn't. It was bigger than a stick. I would call it a limb. Fell to the ground and shattered so close to me that when it shattered, splinters and little pieces of the limb shot up and hit me on the leg as I ran by. And I instantly thought back to that woman's story about the poltergeist, and if these things actually do put us in a situation where we can, spiderweb, draw these things to us. And I don't think it was a coincidence that at that very moment when I said, no, I'm not going to go back and tell that negative story of that negative contact that very negative person made with me last night. I'm going to tell this one. I'm going to tell a nice, heartwarming story about the ghost of a family pet. It's as if a poltergeist threw a freaking limb at me. So anyway, folks, you can take that for what it's worth. You can believe it or not, even though my name ain't Ripley. It's Crazy Lake. And if you got a story that you'd like to see read on our channel, you'd like others to know about, if you've had weird things happen to you that you just can't understand, that can't seem to be explained, and you want a safe place to share them, email it to the channel here, crazylake@mail.com, crazylake@mail.com. And right now, at the end of this video, I'm sending you over to my man, Jim Stump. Video should be whatever video pops up here at the end, that's Jim Stump's. Click on it, go watch him, subscribe to his channel, follow what he has to say. He's got a lot to say, and he's got an email address he'll give you on his channel. If you've got a problem in your life, problem with relationships, you've had past experiences that you feel are holding you back, you can't seem to figure out how to overcome them, send Jim an email. He'll talk to you, okay? He's qualified to do it. See you for more next time.